Hello, my name is Vladimir Nikolic. I live in Serbia. My passion is one of my passions is djembe and dundun family of drums. They are from West Africa, from the countries Mali, Guinea, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Cote d'Ivoire. It comes from the Malinke people, but it has spread to other ethnic groups, including all over the world. I learned this in Canada. I lived in Canada for around 33 years. I learned this from many teachers. Some of them are from the Caribbean, and then some of the master drummers from Africa came. And it's a tradition. It's ageless, essentially, and it's a living tradition. The whole thing started with Sekou Touré, who was the leader of Guinea. He was responsible for gaining independence from France. And he wanted to show an example of how beautiful their culture was. Not just Malinke, but other ethnic groups like Fulani, Susu, and other ones. So he created a ballet that's based on traditional music. And this, wherever he went, he brought the ballet with him. So other African countries saw what he was doing and they really liked it. And so this Pan-African movement started. Meanwhile, this started to spread in the rest of the world, and people liked it. So the people that played the drums, the djembe, they're called djembe fola. So these people who were recruited in the ballet, later they grew up and started collecting rhythms from other villages from all over West Africa. And in this way, the djembe became the king of the percussion instruments. It goes with the dance. Now, every rhythm has its dance. And there's this thing that's called a call. A break that's very important with the dance. In this way, people learn how to dance like a particular rhythm, and they learn this tradition that it's almost like it's not just music, it's not just a show, but it's a game of sorts. You can kind of talk with the drums. Even people who are not African can, in some sense, talk with the drums, whereas in West Africa they can actually literally talk with the drum because their language is tonal. But anyway, the tradition is ageless in that way that, as an example from a village, like the blacksmith people have their own society, have their own secrets, have their own rhythm and songs and dance. The farmers have their own. What do you call them? The people that make shoes have their own, and so on and so on. So and there's rhythms for all kinds of events, funerals, festivals, full moon, weddings, all kinds. So in a village scenario, when let's say a festival is happening for something or other, there's like a circle dance that happens in the beginning, and then eventually when it becomes more of a party, then the dancers will come one by one, and the point is to get the attention of the soloist, because in West African music it's opposite. Like in Western music, the dancer follows the music, but in African music, it's the music that follows the dancer. So it's the dancer who is painting the solo, and the soloist is supposed to follow her feet or her movements. This specific part is what is most popular now. And so, for instance, you can add this to another culture, Japanese, Balkan, anything, Norwegian, Russian. The goal is for people to learn the rhythms, to learn the tradition, the history and the role of the rhythms, to preserve them, to keep them. But also when you have years and years of experience, and you understand the relationship between the drums, then you can add your own rhythm. Then, so for instance, we here in Serbia, we're working on our rhythm that sounds like Balkan rhythm, but it's djembe. It sounds like djembe rhythm. So in this way, you can see it's a living tradition. There's room to breathe, but it's also important to keep the source and to let people know that this is an African thing. This comes from Africa. The djembe, there's 3 bass drums. They're called altogether. They're called dunun, but each one is called the big bass drum is called also dunun. Middle drum is sangban. Smaller bass drum is kenkeni. Each one has a bell, so they create the melody. The bells create the first melody, the bass drums create the second melody, and the djembe create the third melody. And in this way, this altogether is one rhythm. Now, what else was I going to say? The point of the tradition, for instance, the things that I've heard from the Djembe Fola master drummers, is they have a sort of a code, like whatever other culture wants this, they have to share it. Now, it is the hope of them too that people who are into this will learn it properly and preserve the tradition, but also to add to it, to enrich it even more, because as I said, it's a living tradition. The idea behind I mean, African culture in general, it's always challenging, or it's always how to say, it's always beckoning you to express yourself in a creative way. It's everything is creative. Joy of life, dancing, masks. It's all about that. It's all about community. The drum, particularly the djembe, but all drums attract everyone. They attract the healthy and the sick. So we need to take care of this and have respect how we approach the drum. Because if you're angry and playing, you're gonna spread anger and frustration. But if you play with a pure heart, you will spread that as well. And this is our aim here in Serbia with our school, Djembija. We hold this every weekend. Our aim is to spread this here. And also, eventually, my vision is that if this tradition roots itself in Serbia, that we could actually incorporate and make a fusion with our folkloric dancers, because Balkan music is very rhythmic, and me as a djembe player, I can see their dance steps and I can say I can mark that, I can follow that. So we're not that far from Africa, and in fact, Serbs, not just Serbs, but Slavs in this region, we also had what we call kolo, our circle dance, and we also had societies for blacksmiths, societies for farmers, and it was the same, but we're losing it. Not to offend religious people, but it is a fact that the Christian church got rid of the drum in Europe. We used to have a sacred drum as well, but it was associated with the devil, and this is how we lost the drum. And it happens that the djembe is most popular among white people. Why? Because white people are remembering now that there's something we're missing, there's something we forgot, our ancestors and where we come from and stuff. So the drum is really helping in this way. It's a healing instrument, and everyone remembers that it's one of the first instruments besides the voice. So it's in everyone's collective subconsciousness. This is why it attracts everyone. That's about it. That's my idea and my vision, and I'm sticking to it.